Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Welcome back, privet, bonjour, guten tag, hola, and ciao to my foreign friends. So today I wanted to talk about what these knives cost. I see, like, I participate in blogs, a number of different blogs, and I see guys asking the question all the time, what are these knives worth? And there's a couple questions here because they're silver and gold. So that's what we're talking about, is knives that have silver and gold in them. And so I think a lot of guys think, because it's gold or because it's silver, it's worth a lot of money. Because as we know, gold is worth a lot of money, isn't it? And so that's what I want to talk to you about and give you a realistic expectation of what the value on these knives are. So when I look online, um, I see prices for gold knives like these between $300 and $600. Now that's not most of them. Most of them go for quite a bit less, but some of these knives, can go for that price. At least that's what somebody's asking for. But I've seen them go for substantially above that. Like one gold knife I saw, which was just a fob knife like this, was going for $3,000. So, what are they worth? And if they're worth $300 to $600, how does that work? So this is an earring. One of the earrings I bought my wife. It was a set, of course, and I bought it for $300. It's 12 karat gold on this earring. And so if you look at that, yeah, we all kind of can relate to that, right? So we can spend easily, that kind of money on a gold chain or a gold earring. And so in that regard, we can kind of understand where that $300 to $600 price is coming from. All right. So let's talk about the value of these knives. And so generally smaller knives, when you're talking about collecting knives, generally smaller knives aren't as worth as much as bigger knives because that is where the demand is. So demand is really what you're talking about when you talk about collectability. Demand and collectability kind of equal the same. So when there's higher demand, it's more collectible and it's worth more. And so these knives are not that collectible. So definitely you can collect some. I have them. It's just that guys don't go crazy over them. And so the prices on these things are relatively low. And what I tell people is the value on these just off cuff is $50 to $100, with 100 being at the upper end of that. And actually, most of the knives that I get like this are below $50 is what I pay for them, or what I try to pay for them. And so that's kind of the norm, $50 to $100. So they're not. In that respect, if you look at this knife and somebody's trying to sell it for $300, why are they selling it for $300? So when you talk about the value of a knife, you're really talking about three different values on these knives. And one of the values is intrinsic value, the value it cost to produce this knife when they produced it. And so that's the intrinsic value of the knife. Then you have, in this case, the price of precious metals. So gold and silver, in this case, on these knives, what does that cost? And that adds value to the knife. And finally, you have collectability. So I've already told you that these knives are not very collectible. But for instance, if this knife, the silver work on this knife was done by Paul Revere, who was a silversmith in the 1700s, this knife would probably be worth $1 million maybe. Because Paul Revere silversmithing is really rare. It's even rarer in knives. And so then you're talking about collectability being the main issue in the value. But for most of these knives, that's not the case. and so they don't have that collectability aspect. And so that's not the main driver of price on these knives. And then you're going to get into the discussion about gold, okay? And, you know, what is the value of gold in these knives? So there's a really complicated explanation for that. And I'm going to try to just give you a quick overview of what that value is in these knives. And then if you want to keep watching the video, I'll go ahead and tell you how I came up with these calculations, okay? But here's the bottom line, short and simple. There is not a lot of gold or silver in these knives, okay? So these knives are basically covered with 1 to 5 microns of gold plated in 1 to 5 microns of gold or silver, and that's the depth of it, how deep this plating goes. And to give you an idea of what that's like, a human hair is measured at 40 or 50 to 70 microns. And so if we chose the maximum amount, which jewelers usually plate these knives in 1 to 5 microns, if we take the maximum amount, 5 microns, human hair is 10 times thicker than the plating on these knives. So that gives you some idea how thin these knives are plated. And so what you do is you take the spot price of gold, which today would be $1,950. Then you're going to have to divide down the price of gold into what is actually in these, which is a minuscule amount. So a gram of 24 karat gold is $36 in per gram, okay? That, and by the way, that's 14 karat gold. So I've already deducted the price from 24 karat down to 14 karat. So 14 karat gold would be $36.75 per gram. And so when you look at the content of gold in these, you're down to the milligram. Okay, so there's 1,000 milligrams in 1 gram. And so what that all works out to, guys, is the amount of gold in a knife this size right here is roughly $7, okay? $7 of gold in this knife. And about $4.50 in silver in this knife, $4.50 in silver, and that's today's prices in these knives. So you're not talking about a lot of value. I think a lot of antique dealers would tell you, if you asked them, you know, why is this thing $300 to $600? He would tell you, well, you know, gold is $2,000, and so there's a lot of gold in here. But the truth is, there is not a lot of gold in here. And really what you have to understand is how thin really the plating on these knives are. And the figures that I just gave you, and I'm going to give you in the rest of the video, is from plating companies in the United States. These are industry standards that I'm talking about. And so that's the bottom line. If you want to cut off the video here, you've got your answer, that these things aren't really worth a lot of money just because of the precious metals in them. And now I'm going to tell you how we come up with those figures. So gold is figured by the ounce. It's $62. $62 for a milligram of gold, or I'm sorry, a gram of gold. And that's 24 karat gold. So 14 karat gold only has 58.3% gold. So that price is $36.75 per gram. So to come up with the amount of gold in here, we have to figure out how much gold is in here. We have to figure out the depth of the gold and the area that it's covering. And so an industry standard in plating, as I mentioned, is 1 to 5 microns. I'm choosing the largest value. And so that's per square inch. So per square inch, an industry standard says that there's 12.5 grams of gold or silver in a square inch. That's 1 micron deep. That's the industry standard. And so what we do is, first, we're going to multiply that 12.5 by 5. And that's because we're doing 5 microns, not 1 micron. And so that number comes out to be 62.5. And then we're dealing with a larger area than 1 square inch. So this right here is 1.5 inches on this side and 1.5 on that side. So we would multiply that 62.5 grams by 3. That's the total area of the knife. That comes out to 187.5 grams. Okay, next we got to figure out a price. So at $36.75 per gram, if you divide 1,000 into that, it means per milligram, it's 3.7 cents. 3.7 cents per milligram of material in that knife. And so then we just multiply 187.5 by 3.7, and that's going to give us $6.75. That's how I come up with a value on this. It's slightly different on silver. Silver doesn't work quite the same way as gold. Gold is reckoned by purity. 24 karat is pure, and roughly it's reduced by 25% each time you go down. 14 karat gold is actually 58.3% of gold. And so that's the actual gold content of this. And that has a value. That's that $36 value I quoted you. And then you would divide 1,000 into that, and that tells you how much a gram would be. A milligram, rather. A milligram of gold would be. And that's how we figure those prices up in the knife. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it interesting. Precious metals can add value to a knife, but overall, there's not enough gold and silver in a knife to add tremendously to the value on most knives. Now you get into bigger Bowie knives, bigger knives that have been, I've seen knives, for instance, that are 24 karat gold. And so, yeah, that's, if the knife is 24 karat gold and it has an ounce of gold in it, it's worth $1,950 just in gold. But for most applications that we are going to look at, that's not going to be the case. It's going to be very thinly plated. And hope you've enjoyed the video. If you like to see more content like this, go ahead and subscribe. I'd love to have you to the channel. Remember the truth. You'll know the truth, and the truth will set you free. And thanks so very much for watching.